The fall of Earth. The sky burned. Captain Elias Kane sprinted through the rubble of what had once been Washington, D.C., his pulse pounding in his ears. The towering skyline was gone, replaced by smoldering husks of buildings and streets littered with the bodies of the fallen. Overhead, Xal'Zir warships loomed like monstrous sentinels, their sleek obsidian hulls reflecting the fiery ruin below. Humanity was losing. His radio crackled. Captain Kane, enemy forces closing in. ETA, 5 minutes. Elias pressed a hand to his earpiece. Understood. Proceeding with the extraction. He turned to his squad. 4 grim-faced soldiers clad in battered combat armor. We get the package, we get out. No heroics. They nodded, weapons at the ready. Their objective was simple. Retrieve Dr. Mira Vasquez, a scientist whose research held Earth's last hope. The details were above Elias' clearance, but command had been clear. Without her, humanity was finished. The team moved swiftly through the ruins, scanning for movement. The streets were unnervingly quiet, the silence broken only by the distant drone of Xal'Zir patrol ships. Elias had fought these invaders for nearly a year, watching them tear through human defenses with ruthless efficiency. Unlike Earth's militaries, who fought with emotion, desperation, the Xal'Zir were cold, calculating. They didn't waste energy on cruelty. They exterminated resistance like a farmer culling vermin. Myra's lab was hidden beneath an abandoned university, accessible through an old service tunnel. As they neared the entrance, Elias signaled for his team to halt. He peered into the darkness ahead, then motioned to his scout, Harper, to check for movement. She slipped ahead, vanishing into the shadows. Moments later, her voice whispered in his earpiece. Clear, but something feels off. Elias didn't hesitate. Move in. The team slipped inside, the air thick with dust and the scent of burning plastic. They navigated through rusted corridors until they reached a reinforced steel door marked with faded hazard signs. Elias pounded on it twice. Silence. Then the lock clicked and the door slid open an inch. A pale face appeared in the gap, Dr. Mira Vasquez. Her dark eyes were hollow, framed by unkempt hair. She looked at Elias, then past him, scanning the ruined world beyond. I told them it was coming, she murmured. We don't have time for I told you so, Elias said. We need to move. Mira hesitated. My work, it's not ready. Elias stepped inside, glancing around. The lab was cluttered with half-assembled machinery and data screens, flashing red warnings. At its center stood a cylindrical device, humming with energy. Whatever she had been working on, it wasn't finished. What is it, he asked. She hesitated. A weapon. Or a shield. Maybe both. It's an energy disruption system designed to interfere with the Xal'Zir's technology. But it's unstable. Elias didn't need to understand the science. He only understood the mission. Can it work? Mira exhaled sharply. I don't know. I haven't tested it. And I don't think we'll get the chance. A distant thud echoed through the tunnel. Elias got twisted. He turned to his squad. Harper, check the entrance. She moved swiftly, but as she reached the doorway, her body jerked backward. Blood sprayed the wall. Contact! The Xal'Zir had found them. Elias dropped behind cover as alien plasma fire ripped through the lab, turning equipment to molten slag. His team returned fire, blue-white streaks of energy illuminating the dark corridor. Damn it, Elias growled. We need to move now. Mira hesitated only a moment before grabbing a small, metallic cylinder from the workstation. If we survive, I can finish this. Elias covered her as they dashed for the exit, his squad laying down suppressive fire. Outside, a Xal'Zir patrol ship hovered above the ruins, its weapons charging. Then, the radio crackled. A voice, distorted, speaking in halting human language, cut through the chaos. Human survivors. I can help. Elias froze. The voice was alien. Xal'Zir. His squad looked at him, waiting for a decision. Myra's fingers tightened around the device in her hands. The war was already lost. But maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance to win. To be continued. The unexpected alliance. Elias pressed a hand to his earpiece, heart pounding. The voice had been unmistakably alien, cold, metallic, with the distinctive cadence of the Xal'Zir. "Repeat that," he said, shifting behind cover as plasma fire scorched the ground nearby. A brief pause. Then the voice returned. "I'm Commander Vareshkar. I oppose this war. I can help." Elias exchanged a wary glance with Mira, who clutched the metallic cylinder, the unfinished energy disruptor, tightly to her chest. "We're trusting an alien now," one of his soldiers, Davis, hissed. Elias didn't have time for debate. The Xal'Zir patrol ship was circling back for another pass. He made a snap decision. If it's a trap, we'll deal with it. If it's not, we don't have a choice. He switched channels. "Fine. If you want to help, prove it. Get us out of here." The reply was immediate. "A diversion is coming. Move west." Before Elias could question what that meant, the sky above them erupted. A deafening boom split the air as an explosion tore through the Xal'Zir patrol ship. Its sleek, black hull shuddered, fire blooming along its side before it spiraled out of control and crashed into the ruins beyond. Elias didn't waste time. "Move!" The squad sprinted through the rubble, gunfire echoing behind them. Elias took point, scanning for any sign of the supposed ally. Then a figure emerged from the smoke. Vareshkar was tall, easily 7 feet, his sleek, silver exoskeletal armor gleaming under the fires of destruction. His elongated skull bore ridges where a human's brow would be, and his 6-fingered hands flexed as he observed them. His deep-set eyes, dark and calculating, locked onto Elias. The soldiers raised their weapons instantly. "Hold fire," Elias ordered, though every instinct told him to put a bullet between the alien's eyes. Vareshkar inclined his head. "Follow. More Xal'Zir come." Mira, breathless, finally spoke. "Why are you helping us?" The alien hesitated. "Because your world does not deserve this fate." That was the only explanation he offered before turning away. Elias knew it could be a trap, but he also knew they were out of options. With a sharp gesture, he signaled his team to move. They navigated through the ruins in silence, moving deeper into the remains of the city. Vareshkar led them through a hidden underground passage, eventually emerging into a bombed-out building that once housed a resistance outpost. Elias scanned the surroundings. "This safe?" Vareshkar nodded. "For now." The squad took defensive positions, but Mira was already stepping forward, her scientist's mind overtaking her fear. "How did you take down that ship?" Vareshkar's mandibles twitched in something resembling a smirk. "I'm not the only one who opposes this war." Elias folded his arms. "So what?" The Xal'Zir suddenly grew conscious. Vareshkar's gaze darkened. "Not all Xal'Zir believe in conquest, but my people do not tolerate dissent. Those who resist are silenced." Elias studied him carefully. He had seen Xal'Zir ruthlessness firsthand. It was hard to imagine any of them as anything other than killers. But right now, Elias needed any edge he could get. "What do you want?" he asked. Vareshkar looked at Mira. "I intercepted your research logs. You have built a weapon that could disrupt Xal'Zir technology." Mira tensed. "It's not finished, and I don't even know if it will work." "It will." Vareshkar took a step closer. "If you integrate a Xal'Zir energy core." Mira's eyes widened. "That could stabilize the system." Elias cut in. "Where do we get one?" Vareshkar glanced toward the skyline, where the Xal'Zir mothership loomed in the distance. "There's a downed warship in Sector 17. Its core is intact, but you must move quickly. The Xal'Zir will seek to recover it." Elias exhaled sharply. He didn't like this. He didn't trust Vareshkar, but he didn't have the luxury of trust. He turned his squad. "We move in 10. Mira hesitated. "If we do this, and it works, we could disable their fleet." Elias nodded. "Then let's make sure it does." As they prepared to move out, Vareshkar spoke again. "Be warned, human. The Xal'Zir will not stop. If they cannot have your world, they will burn it." Elias checked his rifle, jaw tightening. "Then we make damn sure they don't get the chance." To be continued. A dying world's last stand. The wind howled through the ruins of Sector 17 as Elias Kane and his team crouched behind the shattered remains of a collapsed overpass. Beyond the wreckage, half buried in twisted steel and rubble, lay their target, a downed Xal'Zir warship. Its sleek black hull was cracked open, blue energy flickering from within. "The core should be near the engine bay," Vareshkar said, his alien voice calm despite the urgency. Elias scanned the area. Xal'Zir scout drones hovered around the wreck, their glowing red optics sweeping the debris. Soldiers in their dark, insect-like armor patrolled nearby, methodically securing the crash site. "There's too many," Davis whispered. Elias's jaw tightened. "We don't have time to wait. Mira, you're with Vareshkar. Get inside and extract the core. The rest of us will cover you." Mira adjusted her pack, gripping the modified energy disruptor tight. The device was still unfinished, its wiring exposed, its systems barely holding together. If the Xal'Zir recovered their technology before she could power up the disruptor, the last hope for Earth would die here. Vareshkar studied Elias. "Your team will not survive a direct assault. We'll make it work." Elias checked his rifle. "Just do your part." With a final nod, Vareshkar and Mira slipped into the shadows, moving low toward the wreck. Elias turned to his squad. "Harper, Davis, take high ground. Pick off the sentries when I give a signal." They nodded, breaking off toward the skeletal remains of an office building. Elias and two others flanked left, inching closer. The Xal'Zir patrols moved with terrifying precision, their movements synchronized, their weapons scanning every shadow. Elias exhaled slowly. "Mark your targets." "On my signal." He raised his rifle, crosshairs locking onto the nearest alien warrior. Then, now, a suppressed shot cracked the air, and a Xal'Zir soldier collapsed. Before the others could react, Elias and his squad opened fire. Plasma rounds streaked through the night, catching the aliens off guard. The Xal'Zir recovered fast. The air ignited with return fire, bright blue bolts scorching the ground inches from Elias. He ducked behind cover as a shockwave rocked the battlefield. Inside the wreckage, Mira and Vareshkar worked quickly. "The core is here," Vareshkar said, kneeling beside a pulsating sphere of raw energy embedded within the ship's framework. "But it is unstable. We must move carefully." Mira wiped sweat from her brow. "We don't have carefully. Just tell me what to do." Vareshkar's elongated fingers moved deftly over the controls. "Sever the conduits here and here." Mira grabbed her tools, hands shaking as she worked. The hum of the core grew louder, an ominous warning. Outside, Elias's radio crackled. "Captain, we're getting overrun." He glanced up to see more Xal'Zir descending from dropships above. His squad was pinned down, their cover crumbling under heavy fire. "Hold the line," Elias growled. A sudden explosion sent him sprawling. A towering Xal'Zir warlord emerged from the smoke, its energy blade crackling to life. Elias barely rolled in time to avoid the first strike. He fired point-blank, his bullets sparking uselessly against the alien's armor. The warlord kicked him hard in the chest, sending him crashing into a chunk of concrete. His vision blurred. The warlord loomed over him, blade raised. Then, a deafening pulse rippled through the battlefield. The Xal'Zir staggered. Their weapons flickered. Their ships overhead shuddered midair. Elias sucked in a breath. The disruptor was working. Inside the wreckage, Mira held the modified device in her trembling hands. The energy core pulsed within it. The raw alien power finally stabilized. Vareshkar stepped forward. "We must amplify it. If we connect this to your orbital transmitters." Mira didn't hesitate. "Olympus base. We need to get back. Now." Elias forced himself to his feet, driving his knife into the stunned warlord's throat. "Move out." His squad regrouped, blasting their way through the disoriented Xal'Zir forces. The aliens, once unstoppable, now stumbled, their weapons glitching, their coordination breaking. As they fell back toward their transport, Mira clutched the disruptor tight. For the first time in this war, humanity had a chance. But the fight wasn't over yet. To be continued. The last transmission. The stolen transport skidded to a rough stop on the cracked tarmac of Olympus Base, one of Earth's last remaining strongholds. The reinforced doors slid open, and Elias Kane and his battered squad poured out, weapons raised, scanning for threats. The base was eerily quiet. The war had already reached these walls. Scorch marks, crumbled barricades, and bodies told the story of a desperate last stand. The Xal'Zir hadn't breached the inner command center yet, but it was only a matter of time. "Move!" Elias barked, ushering Mira and Vareshkar forward. "Get that thing online now." Mira clutched the modified energy disruptor, the alien power core humming inside. "The control room is this way." The team sprinted through the darkened corridors. Olympus Base had been humanity's last major communications hub before the invasion crippled Earth's defenses. If Mira could link the disruptor to the orbital transmitters, they could unleash an energy pulse across the planet, disabling the Xal'Zir fleet in one final, desperate gambit. The problem? They had to survive long enough to activate it. As they neared the control center, a deep tremor rocked the base. The lights flickered. Dust rained from the ceiling. "They're here," Davis muttered. Elias glanced at Vareshkar. "You sure your own people won't shoot you on sight?" The alien warrior's mandibles twitched in what might have been a grim smile. "They will try." Another explosion thundered from behind. The Xal'Zir had found them. Elias spun. "Harper, Davis, hold this corridor. Buy us time." The soldiers nodded, falling back behind cover as the first wave of alien troops charged in. Blue plasma fire lit up the hall. Elias turned away, leading Mira and Vareshkar into the command center. The room was in shambles, broken monitors, shattered consoles. But the central control station was intact, the main power relays still functional. Mira rushed to the terminal, yanking off the paneling to expose the wiring. "Vareshkar, I need you to interface with the disruptor, sync its frequency to the transmitter array." The alien moved without hesitation, his elongated fingers dancing over the controls. The disruptor, now linked to the base's core systems, pulsed brighter. Elias took position at the doorway, watching as Mira worked furiously. His radio crackled. "Captain," Harper's voice was drowned in static then, "we can't hold." The line went dead. Elias clenched his jaw. He could hear the pounding of heavy Xal'Zir boots closing in. Time was running out. Myra's voice cut through the tension. "Almost there." Vareshkar glanced at her screen. "Pulse charging. 30 seconds." A screeching boom echoed through the hall. The reinforced doors buckled. The Xal'Zir were coming. Elias took a deep breath. "Mira, if this works, what happens next?" She hesitated. "It'll disable all Xal'Zir technology within range, including their warships." But what?" Her voice was quiet. "The feedback might overload the power core. If that happens," she swallowed, "Olympus Base will go up with it." Elias exhaled. There was no other choice. "Then we make sure it's worth it." The doors blasted open. Xal'Zir warriors poured through, weapons raised. Elias fired first, cutting down the lead invader. Vareshkar whirled, drawing a curved energy blade, slicing through the nearest attacker. The disruptor whined, glowing bright as Mira frantically input the final commands. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds." A plasma shot burned through Elias's shoulder. He stumbled, gritting his teeth. Another Xal'Zir charged toward Mira. Elias fired, his last bullet dropping the alien a foot from her. The disruptor released a final, high-pitched pulse. Then, a shock wave erupted outward. The Xal'Zir warriors froze mid-strike. Their weapons flickered, then died. Their armor systems shorted out. Outside, the sky ignited as the pulse reached orbit. Xal'Zir warships, once untouchable, faltered. Their shields collapsed. Their engines failed. One by one, the invincible fleet began to fall. Olympus Base trembled. The overloaded power core was seconds from detonation. Myra's eyes met Elias's. "We have to go now." He grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. Vareshkar followed, his movements swift despite his wounds. They raced through the collapsing corridors, fire licking at their heels. Elias slammed his fist against the emergency blast door release. The doors groaned, barely responding. Then, finally, they slid open, revealing the hangar bay. A single evac ship remained. They sprinted aboard. Mira threw herself into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. Come on, come on. The ship roared to life. Behind them, Olympus Base erupted. The blast consumed the facility in a blinding inferno, vaporizing the Xal'Zir troops within. But the disruptor had done its job. The Xal'Zir fleet was crashing, their invasion crumbling. Humanity had survived. As their ship climbed into the burning sky, Elias slumped against the wall, bleeding, exhausted. He looked at Vareshkar. You're officially the strangest ally I've ever had. The alien inclined his head. And you're the most stubborn human I have ever met. Mira let out a breathless laugh. We did it. For the first time in over a year, Earth was no longer under siege. And maybe, just maybe, there was hope for what came next. The end.